Hello, thank you for hearing my testimony. My name is Deb Howard, and I'm a mom of two, a volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, and a resident of Northampton, New Hampshire. As a mom, I know that our children need and deserve our protection. Schools should be a safe haven from the violence that touches so many Americans, yet New Hampshire does not protect our children against the presence of firearms in school. Current law that does not clearly prohibit guns in schools threatens the safety of our children and increases the likelihood of tragic school shootings and other incidents of gun violence. As it is, an estimated 3 million American children witness gun violence every year. And we know that gun violence is the second leading cause of death for American children and teens, and the first leading cause of death for Black children in the teens. As someone already said, only Hawaii and New Hampshire are the only states that don't have laws which generally prohibit people from bringing guns onto the property of schools. Despite some people's fantasies of being the good guy with a gun who will prevent the next mass shooting, the reality is that is not likely to happen. The FBI found that in 250 active shooter incidents, there were only 7 successful armed civilian interventions. In contrast, unarmed civilians successfully intervened in 22 incidents. Research also casts significant doubt on the idea that civilians can shoot as well as trained police officers in active shooter situations. In fact, armed civilians have put law enforcement in danger, delayed law enforcement responses, and posed a risk to innocent bystanders during active shooter crises. Following the shooting of 12 police officers at a demonstration where dozens of open carry activists were present, then Dallas Police Chief David Brown said, "We don't know who the good guy is versus the bad guy when everyone starts shooting." The gun lobbies claim that gun-free zones invite mass shootings has been thoroughly debunked by research showing that the overwhelming majority, nearly 90%, of all high-fatality gun massacres since 1966 have occurred wholly or partly in locations where civilian guns were allowed or there was armed security or law enforcement present. And even trained police don't hit their target much of the time. People carrying guns in schools make our kids less safe. They are people who sometimes drop their gun on the floor, as happened here in the New Hampshire State House. They are people who sometimes accidentally leave their gun in the bathroom, as happened at schools in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Florida. They are people who accidentally discharge their gun on school grounds, as happened in schools in Kentucky, Florida, and Virginia last year, and Alabama just a few days ago. According to the latest Everytown School Safety Report, nearly 20% of gunfire incidents that occurred on the grounds of elementary, middle, and high schools from 2013 to 2018 were unintentional, including those resulting in injury or death or incidents in which no one was shot. Clearly, bringing guns onto school grounds is making our children less safe. Guns do not belong in our schools, but there is no state law preventing guns in New Hampshire schools. No child should feel unsafe at school, and no parent should have to fear for their child's safety. State law should state loud and clear that guns do not belong in our schools. We have an obligation to our children to do everything we can to protect them from gun violence when they are at school. We need to pass this bill to let them know that we have their backs. Please vote HB564 ought to pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Croc TV.